want you to turn yourself in.
I'm walking through that door.
Why don't you just go out the back door?
Because I want to walk through this door.
Well, you're gonna knock me down to do it,
Well, I damn well will knock you down.
The back door!
I'm not going anywhere. I'm not moving.
You do want a pat on the head.
No, I don't. Oh, yes, I do. I was great, Dad. I was really great. Everything you taught me. Logistics, timing, and cover your ass. Nobody got hurt.
I'm not impressed, you know. You're still an outlaw.
Oh, so I'm an outlaw. See it a couple times, don't mean much. Outlaw, outlaw, outlaw. But I'm a very successful outlaw.
That's Treat Williams as legendary airplane hijacker D.B. Cooper, the man who jumped out of a plane with a parachute and $200,000. Never heard from. The Pursuit of D.B. Cooper is one of 4 new films we'll be reviewing on Sneak Previews, your weekly guide to the movies. Across the aisle from me, Roger Ebert, film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And this is Gene Siskel, film critic for the Chicago Tribune. In addition to The Pursuit of D.B. Cooper, we'll also be reviewing Francois Truffaut's new story of passion named The Woman Next Door, and a dramatic new Polish film named Man of Iron. But first, Gene starts with a fantasy adventure named Time Bandits.
Time Bandits is a new comic film created by a couple of members of the Monty Python English comedy group. It's a wildly uneven film, long, boring stretches mixed with some truly funny special effects. The premise of the story is charming. A group of dwarves who used to work for God have stolen his map that shows where there are holes in time and space in the universe. And this gang of little people decides to use the map for a masterful crime wave in which they're going to travel through time, drop in on famous historical characters, and swipe important relics from the likes of Robin Hood and Napoleon. Great idea. The movie starts with a marvelous scene, any kid's fantasy. The little boy is in bed for the night when all of a sudden, well, take a look.
Turn that light off.
It is off.
You think that's wild? Later, the dwarfs come through the same wall, and one of the first holes in space they drop the little boy into is ancient Greece, and a visit to King Agamemnon, played by Sean Connery.
Saved my life, remember? The enemy of the people is dead!
That was Sean Connery as King Agamemnon. A couple of these visits to famous characters, including that one, get awfully boring, and one trip to the good ship Titanic is so dull that the film completely grinds to a halt. But then the film turns itself around with a scene like this one, where the little boy and the dwarves do battle with an evil genius, a devil character played by David Warner. He wants God's map of the time holes, too. Now, this may be the ultimate rescue scene.
trouble, Sonny?
Oh, man!
Aha! So, this is the best the Supreme Being can do. I guess we'll have a lynching. See, Sonny? No problem.
Well, that seems a lot of fun, and there are other choice moments in the picture, too. But Time Bandits isn't all like that all the way through. Midway through the picture, in fact, I felt I had seen enough tricks and very much wanted the movie to be over. It has about 3 too many visits to famous historical people. That's why I really can't recommend Time Bandits as much as though I did enjoy a couple of its scenes. In fact, I think the 2 best are the ones we showed you.
I think I enjoyed it a little bit more than you did, at least enough to recommend it, although I also did not think it was a great film. I think my expectations must have been very great when I walked in with this cast and with the Monty Python people
And
who
that
were
first
behind it.
scene.
And the wonderful first scene. But the problem is they have such a wealth of material, so many incidents and characters, and they go through them at the same breakneck speed. It's like a Keystone Cops chase through history.
The thing that I can't figure out is, you know, comedies by tradition, especially one that's sort of pitched a little bit at young people like this is, 90 minutes, 85, 95 minutes. This film goes on much longer than that. Certainly feels like it goes on way longer than that. To what end? I don't get it.
As I said, I liked it more than you did. I wonder whether children might not enjoy it more than we did, because it is endlessly inventive, and it does put this kid in the middle of all these grown-up situations where King Agamemnon and Robin Hood are talking to him and putting him up on their horse and things like that. That's fun for a kid to identify with.
I suppose so.
And another thing, the set decoration, the costume, the whole art direction of this film makes it really look like a terrific film.
Yeah, but the adults that are sitting there are going to be bored intermittently and regularly.
So, yes and no. Okay. Our next film was made by Francois Truffaut. He's the great and prolific French filmmaker. His new film is called The Woman Next Door, and it deals with 2 of his favorite themes, men who are in love with being in love and women who do violence to men. They're both in this film. The Woman Next Door is about a man and a woman who were troubled lovers years ago. They've since married other people, and as the movie opens, they discover they've accidentally become next-door neighbors. Neither her husband nor his wife suspects anything at all about their mutual past together, and in this scene, after a chance meeting in a grocery store, the 2 former lovers experiment with the notion that they can be just good friends.
Je voulais te demander encore quelque chose. C'est de prononcer mon nom de temps en temps. Autrefois, je pouvais deviner à l'avance quand tu me devenais hostile, parce que tu pouvais passer une journée entière sans m'appeler Mathilde. Tu t'en souviens sûrement pas.
Mathilde.
And right after that kiss, she swoons. That's Gerard Depardieu as the big lunk from next door, and the woman is played by a terrific newcomer named Fanny Ardant. What they get involved with during this movie is a deadly game of sensual ping-pong. First, she wants to be his lover, but he rejects her. But then, just as she gets over him, he decides to abandon everything and run off with her. Sometimes, it almost seems, so they're deliberately trying to drive each other nuts. Now look at this scene. It begins with flirtation on the telephone and ends with very serious passion.
Chambre 18. La clé n'est pas au tableau. Vous êtes attendu.
Ah bon, merci. Au premier.
Monsieur? C'est ici. Venez, monsieur.
Well, they're looking for trouble. What begins as love in the afternoon quickly turns into a painful and destructive obsession. Truffaut makes the lover's fatal mistake very clear in this film, and it's a failure to be honest. Because both lovers conceal the truth from the people they're married to, what could have just been an old memory turns into a mutual game of deception, and in this film, deception is the lifeblood of adultery. If they'd both been honest with their partners at the outset, it might have neutralized their attraction for each other. Who knows? As it is, it gets deeper than that. One of the most intriguing things about The Woman Next Door is the way Truffaut suggests that neither one of these two people can really quite stand to be loved. They only really get worked up about the other person when they're being rejected. I think The Woman Next Door is one of Truffaut's better films in recent years.
I think it is too, but of course when we say that, you know, he has not been at the top of his form recently, and the last few pictures haven't been very good. I liked it too, but I must say, not necessarily while it was going on. It was only when I left the theater, and I think the reason is because the characters aren't all that interesting as characters. Their problem is fascinating, trying to recapture that long-lost love, trying to do it a second time, or as you suggest, getting in this syndrome of wanting to chase but not to be chased. It's an interesting problem. I don't think the characters are that appealing.
I think the characters are more interesting the more you think about them, so I disagree with you. What is interesting is that what Truffaut does on the surface is make a fairly simple story. He starts out and says, this is the story of two houses. They're next door to each other. These people move in, and here's their situation. But then what happens is you almost have to read their minds because, as I said, first the guy is pursuing her, then she pursues him. Then what goes on in their minds is not exactly parallel to the actions that they take, and so you can guess what they're thinking of while they're doing the exact opposite, and it gets real complicated leading up to that real surprise ending.
Well, I keep thinking about this film. I saw it about a week ago, and I haven't not thought about it. I think about it every day since then. It's getting better in my mind. While I was seeing it, I wasn't all that impressed.
Well, that's a pretty high recommendation.
Okay. From France, we next go to Poland, to Man of Iron, a drama which, as they say, is as current as today's headlines. Man of Iron is the second film that director Andrzej Wajda has made about the Polish labor movement's struggle for freedom. In the first film, which was a couple years ago, it was called Man of Marble. We met a man there who was a conservative labor leader. Man of Iron is the story of his more radical son. The son is being investigated by a state-controlled network reporter who is spying on the new Polish Solidarity labor movement, trying to find possible connections with it and our CIA. What happens next is that the reporter, who's at first skeptical about this young man, gradually grows to admire him, and he even attends his wedding, which is also attended by the real-life leader of the Polish labor movement, Lech Walesa.
Wszechmogący, niech wam udzieli swojego błogosławieństwa. Niech błogosławi wam i waszym dzieciom. Jednorodzony Syn Boży, niech wspomaga was w dniach pomyślności i w chwilach doświadczeń. Was, wszystkich tutaj zgromadzonych, niech błogosławi Wszechmogący Bóg, Ojciec i Syn i Duch Święty.
Dziękuję. Dziękuję serdecznie. Maćku, tobie również wszystkiego najlepszego. Tobie błogosławieństwo Boże towarzyszyło.
Wszystkiego najlepszego na tej poważnej drodze życia. Myślę, że jednak z tej powagi skorzystajcie. A jak będziemy trudności, to wiecie nad nas jako świadków, że zawsze wam pomożemy.
Dziękuję. Dziękujemy bardzo.
Ale ponieważ liczę, że to małżeństwo będzie demokratyczne, więc chciałem to demokratycznie powiedzieć.
Dziękuję.
Man of Iron has one extraordinary effect. It makes the headlines and TV news stories coming out of Poland take on a human importance. Instead of just viewing Polish workers as a faceless group that we always see demonstrating on TV, in Man of Iron, we meet individual characters and get to spend some time with them, and we can relate to their cause as one person to another. It's not a perfect film. I found it melodramatic at times, a bit long, but the cumulative effect of the film is quite extraordinary. We do feel as though we're on the inside, watching the formation of a great labor movement with legitimate and important human goals, and not just a bunch of people haggling for, say, the size of their cost of living allowance. In that way, Man of Iron may be a great film.
It does take you inside. You know, there were scenes in this movie when I wasn't sure if I was looking at fact or fiction, which of course is the point. The whole movie is supposed to be a fiction, but then what he's done is use documentary footage of the actual striking shipyard workers and then tie that all in together. And what I enjoyed, too, was the fact that he makes these characters so three-dimensional and real and convincing as people, because there might have been a temptation on White's part to just say, well, I want to make an ideological statement about this situation.
Could have been
this
very
person
boring.
represents the government, this person represents solidarity.
Yeah.
But no, they're real people.
And also, we are seeing it through the eyes of someone who is going through a change. We're seeing someone who is opposed to the union, or at least paid to be opposed to the union intellectually, and he goes through a change. So it is sort of fascinating. And there is a run-on, long novel kind of quality to the picture. I have the feeling that this filmmaker, in addition to just doing a report on what's going on in Poland, also wanted to make a great story, sort of like a Gone with the Wind, that the Polish people would enjoy while they were seeing this. And in fact, this is really film as politics, because it's an attempt to entertain and argue. It's a very complex kind of film.
This is the most popular film in Poland today, and I suppose that's not surprising.
No.
But weren't you a little surprised, given everything you've read about Poland in the paper, that a major filmmaker over there could make this film,
Yes.
which is so critical of the government, and even sets up one character as a stoolie for the government?
Yeah, I was very surprised. We have to challenge ourselves, though, with one thing. Are we liking the picture just because we're on the side of the Polish workers? How do you plead?
Frankly, I suppose I am on the side of the Polish workers. I haven't really thought that much about it. I like the picture because I enjoyed the experience of seeing these real events.
Well, I think part of our pleasure is, I'm going to answer it in my own challenge. I think part of the pleasure is, honestly, that it is on the right side. I think that comes out of it, too.
Our next film is a comedy named The Pursuit of D.B. Cooper. It's a movie that begins with a news item and develops into a slice of American life. The news item is from 1973, when a hijacker calling himself D.B. Cooper parachuted out the rear door of a Boeing 727 with $200,000 in small bills, and Cooper has never been found, dead or alive, ever since then. But this movie assumes he made it safely to Earth, and it takes up from there, turning into an offbeat chase movie, a personal duel between two former Green Berets. D.B. Cooper is played in the movie by Treat Williams, and when he was in Vietnam, his survival training instructor was Robert Duvall. Well, now Duvall is an insurance investigator for the airline, and in this scene, hot on the trail of his old Green Beret buddy, he talks to the skyjacker's wife in a bar.
What kind of insurance does your company sell?
Fire and flood, you name it, we've got it.
What do you think about this D.B. Cooper phenomenon?
I think it's great.
What do you think about this man, D.B. Cooper? I think he was a hell of a man. Do you think he'll ever be caught?
I hope he's not caught. Anyone can pull a heist like that. No way he'd get caught.
I think he has a good chance of getting away with it.
Why do you think D.B. Cooper has become such a folk hero?
Because he made a lot of money real fast.
Beat the system. Yeah, he beat the system. That's all it is. He's a white people system. That's right.
Nobody got hurt.
It's kind of like Butch Cassidy. He's a hero, of sorts.
There's some stunt that guy pulled off.
Takes all
Bess,
kinds
what
of
do you
hits.
think?
Person that turns him in is going to be a national hero.
Person that turns him in ought to be shot.
Well, that's before she finds out what Duvall already knows, that D.B. Cooper is her own husband.
Hannah, I did it.
What? What do you mean? Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Now, what do you mean, oh, my God?
Oh, Meade. Oh, no.
Now, don't say no, Hannah. Don't say no. Don't say no. Say yes. Yeah, say yes. Try it. It's easy. Try it with your face. Just make your mouth go into kind of a yes. It's easy. Go ahead. Try it. Yes. Yes. What do I have to do? Draw your picture, baby? I mean, this is it for us, honey. We can go anywhere we want. We can do anything we want, you know? Just the two of us. High on the hog.
Are you trying to tell me the only reason you did this thing is for me?
Absolutely. Only you. And the money.
Right. So you think you can just buy me back with a few $20 bills?
A few? Hannah, I'm talking about 10,000 $20 bills. I mean, what you got in your hands there, that's just loose change. I mean, you are talking tips, and I am talking icebergs.
Well, you know what you can do with your loose change?
That's Catherine Harold as Treat Williams' wife, and this isn't the first time she sees one of his damn fool stunts. Williams is the kind of guy who is absolutely relentless in his obsession, and in this spectacular chase scene, the dogged, determined Robert Duvall has temporarily recaptured the money, so now Treat Williams steals an airplane to get it back.
Don't quit on me now. Don't quit. Don't quit. Oh, what the hell? How do you like your new sunroof, Bruin?
That's a fantastic chase scene. You might ask why that plane didn't crash when it was bouncing off the car, and the answer is you never really see the plane bouncing off the car. They cut back and forth to make it feel like you're seeing it. The Pursuit of D.B. Cooper has an appropriate title because the movie contains several more just as amazing pursuit scenes like that one. These guys chase each other down river rapids and over mountain roads with helicopters, pickup trucks, motorcycles. But The Pursuit of D.B. Cooper is not simply a chase movie. It concentrates on Cooper's personality instead of simply trying to document his crime. It's more of a whimsical, humorous look at eccentric American characters, retired Army generals, sharecroppers, pool players, mountain women. And in the loving way it portrays these offbeat people, it didn't remind me so much of a movie like Skyjack, for example, as, let's say, a movie called Melvin and Howard. It's a nice little film. It's well acted and persistently entertaining.
Well, I agree that it has those two things going for it. That has the chases and it has the people. I just felt it did neither one very, very well.
Really?
I like that chase scene at the end. I can't deny that. But half of the time, I felt, I'm watching this duel between Treat Williams and Duvall, and I felt that both characters were very uptight. These are two good actors. I never felt them let go. The movie, as you know, I think, was directed by two people. A lot of production problems while they were making it, and I sort of felt that there was one half of the team wanted it to go into the chase area, the other half wanted it to be a personal story.
I didn't notice the two characters being especially uptight, and what I also liked was the fact that there are 8 or 9 other supporting characters in this film who had a lot of interest to it, real strange, bizarre, offbeat characters.
Well, I know what you are saying is there. I didn't find it there, and I guess I noticed more the stuff in the rapids and the stuff with the plane, and to me that didn't make it all that special.
Well, here are some films that are special, Gene. They have the dubious honor of being selected by Sparky the Wonder Dog as the Dogs of the Week.
Okay, well, my dog of this week is a Goldie Hawn comedy called Lovers and Liars. And you might think, hey, Goldie Hawn's made a new comedy a year after Private Benjamin. Well, that's wrong. Lovers and Liars is an old Goldie Hawn comedy. She made it before, about 2.5 years ago in Italy. In the picture, Hawn plays a young American tourist in Italy on the run from her Chicago lover who lied to her. He's married. So who does she become involved with in Italy? Sure, a married man, Giancarlo Giannini. Easy, Sparky. This film is full of stupid slapstick and bad sound dubbing. He's moaning over here. It's a total waste of your time. In general, if a film comes out with an American movie star and the ad campaign is kind of quiet and the film was made in Europe, chances are it's a dog that they made earlier in the career. That's Lovers and Liars.
Okay, Gene, I'll give it a pass. My dog this week is an obscure little psychological thriller named Haunts. And it's a movie with the most confusing and impenetrable plot I've come across in a long time. Mae Britt plays a woman who lives in the woods with her uncle and is constantly being assaulted by strange intruders. Things get so bad that she's attacked in the shower on 3 different occasions. That's 3 of the 6 shower scenes in this movie. And then at the end, it turns out that nothing happened the way we thought it did, and the dead man in the grave turns out to really be Mae Britt's pet goat. Well, how did that happen? Well, you know you're in trouble when they spend the last 12 minutes of a movie in nonstop dialogue just trying to explain what happened, and still you can't understand it.
That is tough to say. Mae Britt's pet goat. Okay. Meanwhile, Sparky's run out of the balcony. So much for the dogs. Now to recap our reactions to the main movies on this show. A split decision on Time Bandits. Roger found it a delightful adventure film. I saw some dull patches. He votes yes. I reluctantly vote no. We both like Francois Truffaut's The Woman Next Door. Roger found it more provocative than I did, but we both vote yes. And 2 strong yes votes for Man of Iron, the drama about the Polish labor movement. And finally, another split on The Pursuit of D.B. Cooper, the hijack comedy. Roger found it entertaining. He votes yes. Recommending you see it. I found it an uneven mess of arguments and chases. I vote no.
Well, next time on Sneak Previews, we'll take a look at Tattoo, a new thriller with Bruce Dern and Maude Adams, and Raggedy Man, the Sissy Spacek film. She plays a struggling young mother. Until then, we'll see you at the movies.
Funding for Sneak Previews was provided by this station and by other public television stations.